So this is a video about the suffering in the world. The general suffering in the world. The unresolved suffering. The suffering that people suffer in the darkness. I make these videos because I want to connect with like-minded people. And I want to get my thoughts out. Because I know that there's somebody out there who will get value from my thoughts. Because there are people who care. There are people like me. I want to find those people. I want to know that they exist. So I found something that actually would help me start a conversation, because it's not easy for me to actually think of what I want to talk about in these videos, and it is not yet easy for me to try to coordinate action either. I'm still trying to talk. Just talk and connect and try. The point is to try. So, I like to look at Google Maps. I like to look at the map a lot. I like to look at my country, the United States, right? So the first thing that goes through my mind when I look at this map is, oh, there's a lot of cities. There's a lot of these cities, these gigantic cities, these like huge metropolitan areas. And I have seen so many stories online of different rings of traffickers, abusers, murderers. In these cities, even in my home city. This is heartbreaking. This is very heartbreaking. Because at any given time, we are less than like 1,000 miles away from true and deep and horrible suffering. Now, when I start to say all this, it sounds like I am consuming too much like bad news. You know what I mean? Consuming too many stories, too many of those, true crime videos. But I actually don't really watch true crime videos. I don't even watch those at all. Instead, I like to hear about the suffering in the world because I don't want to be ignorant to it. Is that the word, ignorant? I don't want to be unknowing to it. I don't want to be a stranger to the suffering in the world, because how terribly selfish would it be for me to not know about the suffering in the world if there are people who are of the same species as me, who feel the same things as me, who are in darkness, true darkness with no foreseeable light. Who am I to not know about that? I should know about that. We should all know about that, because an injustice anywhere affects justice everywhere. And injustice anywhere affects justice everywhere. That is true for many different things. Human suffering, human trafficking. Those are the things that I think of a lot. I continue to think of these things purposefully because I try to think of the worst things. Not to overwhelm my mind with the worst possible negativity, but to be aware of just the kind of depths of negative things that there are in the world. I want to be able to understand the worst possible things in the world. Should I do that? I don't entirely know. But possibly. Because at this point in life, we're all connected through a society. A large society. The entire world is connected by the internet. I want to know about the evils being done. I want to know about the truest and deepest of evils being done, so that we can understand how to save the people who need the most help. Specifically, organizations like the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. We need more like that. We need more things like that. We need more things like that. Like the Center for Missing and Exploited Children. I like to hear stories from people. Stories online. Because online is the easiest place to hear stories. To get a wider picture for what's going on in the world. I go to Reddit and other platforms and use other Google searches. Not Google, I guess I use Brave. To find Brave browser. It's like better for privacy, I suppose. As I continue my quest to have more control over the technology that I use. But anyway, I find these stories of people who are suffering because I like to hear them. I want to be able to be the person who hears the person who is suffering. Because to me, the thought of somebody carrying the weight of a terrible form of suffering, that hurts me. That hurts me. Because imagine somebody going through something completely and utterly awful, and they're just completely alone. Unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. So many things I have decided are unacceptable. I boldly proclaim unacceptable. Even though most people will have accepted a lot of the sufferings in the world. But when I say unacceptable, what I really mean is acceptable, but something needs to be done. So I made a project. I made a project. And this is what I would describe as a journaling project. A journaling project that will last from 6 years ago to hopefully until I'm gone. So I have written extensively about my thoughts about preventing certain forms of child exploitation. You can get in contact with me if you want to learn about that. But honestly, that doesn't really matter here. What really matters is trying. So I love to try. I lost my train of thought. It was going so good until I lost my train of thought. How do I centralize this? How do I bring back our focus to something? Do I just keep talking? Do I just keep saying words? But then they'll become empty. Bear with me. Just bear with me. Just literally sit with me. Sit with me and suffer with me. I've put so much effort into this project. This journaling project. But in reality, it's sort of a combination of efforts to organize people online to do activism projects, to advocate for control over our technology, among other things. I have a list. I have some letters that I have written which intend to sum up some of the problems of our time, like the exploitation problems of our time, like how, I don't know what the figure is exactly, but I'm going to say a lot. I'm just going to say a lot because I actually don't know the figure, but a lot of children who use the internet are approached by adults online who exploit them. That's just a fact. And I know that's a fact because I've observed that. I've observed that in my, I guess, hands-on research, being exposed to what I would describe as the anti-predator community online, which is people who are familiar with how predator rings work, like child predator rings. So I'm familiar with that. So I've seen a lot of these methods that these predators have used hands-on, right? I've learned about them. It's tragic, right? It's tragic. But ultimately, I feel like this is productive. To write about things. To write letters. I've written a couple guides. I wrote a guide on how to report things. Report child abuse material when you come across it online. But it's a slightly different reporting guide that includes some other aspects of things that we should consider. I wrote a pledge that people can make. It's basically a declaration that you want to prioritize the young people of our earth. Because I have seen a lot of human beings in our society, both online and in person, who do not prioritize children, it seems. Unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. Even the thought of a child being exposed to the risk of getting hit by a car, right? How many people do you know who have just accepted that as absolute fact? It has to be that way. We have to be productive. We have to drive cars. To me, there has to be a way. There has to be a way around it. Because I am afraid of when reasoning goes in that direction. The direction of, oh, well, things have to be this way. You can't control that. But what if you could control it? I mean, crosswalks are kind of dangerous. The roads in general are kind of dangerous. What if we add more bridges, more, like those kind of roads that are separate from residential roads? I don't know how to describe it, but it's basically like separating cars from residential areas. We might be less productive in certain ways, but the thought of a child being hurt hurts me. And it should hurt everyone else. It should hurt everyone else. I seem to think about it more than the average person, which is okay. That's kind of my burden to bear. How do I say that in a way that makes sense? So I kind of discovered a lot of these concepts of child exploitation when I was in my teen years, right? And I was like, wow, this is absolutely unacceptable. And so I willingly kind of chose to keep learning about it. It was like, I would compare it to if you saw a big, beautiful fire engulfing houses and absolutely destroying them. A massive fire, thousands and thousands of times bigger than anything you've seen before. And I would describe it as not being able to look away from that. That's how I describe it. How can you look away? How can anyone look away? Now, yes, I have overwhelmed myself thoroughly, very thoroughly, with this knowledge of like exploitation. And it's not like I have some kind of forbidden knowledge that people don't know. It's just I've been exposed to the anti-predator community. People who take justice into their own hands, kind of, is how I'd explain it to someone who doesn't understand it. People who go out of their way to find pedophiles online, to report them in bulk, because they know where to find them. Now, I will tell you this right now. It is an absolute fact that there is a seemingly infinite supply of pedophiles at any given time on, well, I could probably find them on at least 2 platforms even now, even after years of leaving the hands-on side of the work, right? Does that make sense? So I left the hands-on in the trenches version of the work quite some time ago, right? And now I mainly do activism stuff and like writing and trying to organize. But I used to be more so involved in the activism, and I remember a couple details that, I mean, obviously everything that I know has been thoroughly reported to police already. I don't know how they've acted on it because I don't entirely know what their procedures are, and I don't want to pester them, pressure them, or do activism to try to get them to focus on these like CSAM rings. If you know what CSAM means, you should know what it means. Child abuse material, right? So like videos of children being hurt in certain ways. But ultimately law enforcement has to kind of go after higher priority folks. So this is all heartbreaking, right? If there was a way to just solve all these problems without having to traumatize each other, I would love to do that. But I'm intending to share this with a mature audience who is ready to hear about these facts of life. These are facts of life, and I have long wrestled with sharing these facts with people because they are so terribly violent. But again, who are we if we just shy away from violence because it's inconvenient? Well, it's not just inconvenient, right? It's actually soul-crushing. So let's say, hypothetically, we were humans, which we all are, right? It's soul-crushing because we have, like, empathy, and we actually have a soul, and we have a heart. So it's obviously soul-crushing. It has caused me so much chaos. But don't worry, because I've taken a step back. I have taken a step back. I will be okay. I truly believe that I will be okay. And I truly do not intend to make your life worse by telling you about these things. I want to tell you about these things because I want them to change. I need them to change. Are you interested in my projects? My websites? I can link them in this video if you just want to glance at them. Deep down, I know somewhere that if everybody got together, if there was more unity, right? If there were less people who were kind of fighting against, like left versus right? Those kinds of things. How can you say that leftists are your enemy, or people on the right side of the political spectrum are your enemy, when there are clearly more violent and repulsive and deep injustices that are more prevalent and more harmful? I'm still trying to figure out who the enemy is in life. Because from what I've seen, we all kind of like to pick some kind of enemy, right? I mean, come on, I think that's a fair assumption to make. Everyone picks some kind of enemy. I've seen people pick leftists. I've seen people pick Christians. I've seen people pick, racists. But amidst all this divide in the world, amidst all this chaos and like misunderstanding between people, the miscommunications, it hurts. It hurts. Amidst all that, I mean, all I've been able to kind of decide is that I guess Satan is the enemy. And I don't even really believe in Satan in a literal sense, but nonetheless, life is extremely hard. I'm getting exhausted even talking about this. Like, I'm actually tired. I'm exhausted from all of this. But I want to try because I know that there's somebody who I could reach. There's somebody out there right now whom could possibly connect with me through this video, through the content of this video. There is somebody who feels how I feel, who feels alone a lot of the time, and who is burdened by knowing just how much suffering is in the world. And I don't even know all of it. Sometimes I want to know all of it. But I know that for my own health, I cannot learn all of it. I cannot try to learn all of it, because that would be a disservice to me. I would probably go insane, right? There's so much hope. There's so much hope. That's it. I'm shifting the video. I'm shifting this. There is so much hope. There is so much hope because have you not also heard stories of people who have been through hell who have come out of it? I mean, finding Jesus is amazing. I'm not a Christian. I have my own beliefs about that. I have my own problems with Christianity. I could go on for years about that, right? But I know that Jesus is real in some sense, and Jesus saves. There are so many things that have saved so many people, and so there is so much good. And as a big picture thinker, right, as a person who just keeps looking at this big picture and is burdened by it, I suppose, I also see the good. I also see the good. I also see the good. I know there's someone who, let's say that by some miracle there's someone who has watched this video all the way through, right? I want to tell you that I have seen the good. And honestly, it saves my life. It saves my life. I have my own art. I have my own songs that I listen to. It saved my life. Tell me your favorite song. Tell me your favorite song. Tell me about the art that saved your life. Tell me about the art or the person or the belief system that saved your life. Tell me. You know, I think I touched on everything I wanted to touch on in this video. You know, I saw the map, right? This Google Maps, right? And I was like, oh, the world is very small. And there's always abuse around every corner. You just zoom in all the way to where you are on the map, and then you slowly zoom out, and it's wonderful. It gives you like kind of a sense for the bigger picture of things in life. And that's what I want to talk about. The bigger picture, kind of. The bigger picture. There is so much hope. Even in a world where it's possible that children might be stolen and tortured, there is still hope. That's actually great. That's actually great. Even for those children. Even for those children. Not just us who are trying to escape suffering ourselves, but even those children. If you're like me, you'll periodically imagine the worst possible thing that could happen ever. And that's because we want to believe that there is a resolve to it. People like me want certainty. I want a solid, concrete answer that is so infallible that it will ensure that the people who I care about, the people in my community, the people in my city and my country, and my world, my very finite and I guess kind of small world, that they will all be safe. Eventually. Even if we have to endure 10,000 years of suffering. I mean, that sounds silly, but who knows, right? Who really knows? Even if we have to endure that long, I just want there to be hope. And there is so much hope. Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm going to talk about one thing and then end the video. Truly, if someone listened to this, thank you so much. I'm going to talk about one more thing, right? And it's how I represent the big picture. That phrase. Okay, the Milky Way. So many people in life have never, ever, ever seen the Milky Way with their own eyes. People in rural areas, right, of which there are a lot, have seen the Milky Way, but only as a cloud. It looks like a cloud in the sky, which is still beyond incredible. And I have seen that too. But in very, very remote areas of the world where there is no light pollution, There's a few here in the country. You can see the Milky Way in color, like in the photographs. You know those insane photographs that you might even question are real? I mean, think about it. Like, those insane photographs of the Milky Way, of the night sky. To me, that's the big picture. That's it. That's it right there. That's the big picture. It's seeing our universe in such glory and splendor. You know, everything else that we see in life, besides the heavens, besides the stars and the Milky Way and the galaxy, everything else is for practical reasons, you know? We see trees because we need them to breathe. We see people because we need to interact with them to survive. We see animals. We see the world around us up close. All those up close things. But when you actually look at the stars and the heavens and the Milky Way, the most beautiful thing ever seen by human beings, when you look at those things, it's different. It hits different. Doesn't it hit different? It hits me different. It hits me different just thinking about it. Because I'm on my way right now to see the Milky Way again, in an even darker and more remote location. By the way, when I say darker, I'm referring to the fact that light pollution, so, light particles being emitted from city lights going into the atmosphere, right? That is what causes the Milky Way to not be visible. That's the majority cause, right? That is the main cause. So that's what I'm referring to. But I'm on my way to see a more darker and more remote area of the country. And it's going to be great. Because while I still have my health and while I still have good eyesight, I think it's only right that I should go see that and be reminded of the bigger picture. And then I'll have a testimony to share with other people. I'll be able to be more confident in advocating for light pollution restrictions. Or, actually, I think if I see the Milky Way, it'll make me just more confident in everything. I mean, more confident in wanting to preserve this wonderful life that we are in. I want to preserve life. I care about life. I care about life. That's my religion. I care about life. I care about life. Because I've seen the Milky Way. I've seen the sunset. I could name every beautiful thing right now, but what good would that do? You know the beautiful things. You don't even have to name them. They're so beautiful. Except the Milky Way. People have started to forget about that a little bit because of light pollution, unfortunately. I've seen that firsthand in my own life, but don't forget about the good things. We can live a great life even knowing about this awful suffering. But we have these two extremes, right? We have child torture, and then we have being healthy while looking at the Milky Way. That's crazy. That's crazy. How does one individual deal with all this? I want to work with you to deal with all this. I want to work with you to deal with the problems of our time. I want to send letters to my government advocating for the change that we need. I want to send letters to people who I care about. I want to be active in my community, as I kind of have been. I want to care at every turn. I don't want to make excuses to not care. I want to be as independent and sustainable as possible. I want to have a home that is independent. A home that is off-grid, right? But not, I don't know, maybe not entirely off-grid, but A home that I have control over. Everybody's entitled to a home. And see, I started talking about a new thing, even though I said the Milky Way was going to be the last thing I talked about, but I have to end it. I have to end it here. I'm going to find a good home. I'm going to find the people who I need to find. I'm going to find more hope. And then my story will end, eventually. But hopefully on a good note, right? I've seen so much hope. I've seen too much. No matter what, it outweighs all the bad. There's nothing that could convince me otherwise. There is nothing. There is nothing that could convince me that there is more bad than good. I think we already won the battle in a lot of ways, but we still need to try. We still need to work hard. Will you work hard with me? Will you work hard with me? It's a miracle if anybody listened to this. Absolute miracle. If anybody's hearing these words right now, total miracle. Total miracle, nothing short of that. I don't know. I would like to hear your story. I would like to hear your story. I would read every word. If you shared your story in the comments or emailed me or something, I would read every word. And then I might even reread it again. If it's shorter, I'd probably definitely reread it again. Thank you. Thank you.